Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, is one of my very best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
That's great, Matt. We're here another week. We're recording a bit earlier than usual just because a long weekend is coming up here in Canada. But, you know, we're back on this podcast grind, Matt, and we're trying to get, you know, our reps in before we have that one unfortunate hiatus week, and it just goes all downhill from there. So, Matt, we're trying to push that from not coming into fruition. But how have you been, Matt?
You know, we should really record those filler episodes.
Right? There's so many filler episodes we can record. We can talk about one of my favorite movies, The Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift. I don't know about you, Matt, but I think we have something. Maybe we could, I don't know, possibly rewatch all the Fast and Furious movies before Fast and Furious 10 comes out. I think that would be some good content, and hopefully a global pandemic won't come around and, you know, cut through it very early on in that production.
I mean, Jaren, to be real, monkeypox seems like it could be a thing.
Don't get me started on monkeypox, Matt. I don't want to toot our own horns here, but I thought we had something good when we were doing a series dedicated to the Fast and the Furious. Matt, that's totally been done already within the last 2 years.
Oh, definitely.
During the pandemic, so.
That was done, like, probably years before the pandemic.
But that's the Saturday morning arcade way, Matt. But this is The Mistake Zone. Again, our gaming and anime adjacent podcast. Don't worry, guys. The anime is coming.
Someday.
I promise you the anime is coming. But
Someday.
Matt, before we talk about, you know, some gaming news and some of the titles that we're anticipating for 2022, Matt, you've known me for a while now.
Yep.
And you know that when I get embarrassed, my face gets really red. Matt, my face is really red right now. And so since we're in this work and home environment, I tend to take a lot of, you know, online meetings with partners. And I feel that I don't have this art down, but it's one of the things that I wish I was better at. The pre-meeting small chat when everyone's still trying to join the room. And so we had a meeting with a few partners today who are based out of, you know, West Coast California. Well, the West Coast of the States, California. And we were in that, you know, brief moment where we're talking, you know, just about pleasantries.
Yeah.
And they asked me what I was up to this weekend. And Matt, I pulled up the Windows calendar because I knew for us here in Canada, Monday is a holiday, Victoria Day.
Yes.
And I said with such conviction, Matt, that, oh, you know, I know you guys have July 4th off next week, and, you know, July 1st is Canada Day for us. So, you know, it's a long weekend. And then I caught myself. I could see their reactions because they were on video call, just kind of blankly staring. And I thought, Damn. Wait a minute. Canada Day and the 4th of July was earlier this month. It's August. And Matt, you know, not to give a lot about myself on this podcast, which I already do, but it's my birthday next week. So, you know, I had to throw it to you know, it's my birthday next week. I'm getting older. I'm getting up there in age. So guess my brain's going away.
I mean, you had a good run at this company, Jaren. You know, it's time to, you know, move on and never see these people again.
Right. Matt, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, have you checked out anything this week that you want to share on The Mistake Zone?
You know, I know we wanted to save this for its own episode, but Jaren, I've been getting back deep into Vampire Survivors and Holocure. Okay. Matt, I know there was a new update for Vampire Survivors, and I believe for Holocure, which is a Hololive fan game that's Actually, Matt, while we're on this topic, what genre is Vampire Survivors? Like, what type? I know it's kind of like, do you consider it a roguelike or roguelite? It's very, like, it has aspects of a roguelike, but I think that with the advent of Vampire Survivors, it spawned a genre. Right. Because, like, I know that there was something before, I think, like, Magic Survivors or something like that.
Yes.
that Vampire Survivors is based on. And I am seeing a lot more games slowly like moving into this, because it also reminds me of, I think, like Bow Hero or Arrow Hero was like a game like it as well. And I think they're really coming to fruition now with the pop off from Vampire Survivors.
Right. So I know we were going to say that for an episode, and I think once Vampire Survivors reaches 1.0, we'll probably do, a deep dive of it. But let's give our friends a little taste, Matt. What about Vampire Survivors right now is captivating you?
I am really, really liking Limit Break that they introduced I think like a few updates ago, Boss Rush, and they introduced a new Arcana recently called Gemini, and I've been having fun with that one.
I really like the Gemini Arcana, and yeah, Boss Rush has been the one mode that has actually kept me coming back, just because I don't know about you, Matt, but with Boss Rush mode, I feel like the first time you clear it, I think that's kind of like a gimme, because ever since I cleared it once, all my Boss Rush modes runs afterwards, I haven't been able to do the full 15-minute clear. I haven't, got into the Reaper kill screen, but that's just me. Maybe I'm a baddie, Matt. But
I'm like 50-50 on the Boss Rushes, but like I'm also trying to change up my builds in there, so like that also could be why.
Have you ever got one of the endgame items to pull off an endgame item for the Boss Rush mode, or do you just kind of focused on your bread and butter?
No, I don't think I've spawned an endgame item like an upgraded item in Boss Rush yet.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like the picks that you're making in Boss Rush are a lot more important, or important to synergize, I guess.
No, definitely, and I'm really enjoying the Boss Rush mode just because with the standard 30-minute run in one of the 5 normal levels, I feel like that's kind of a podcast game at that point, where you're just turning off your brain.
Yeah.
You're trying to evolve weapons and trying to get to that boss status where you can eventually just AFK. And I know with the introduction of limit breaks that allow you to keep upgrading and leveling up your weapons past the kind of the level caps normally, I think that really adds to the spectacle of it all. But at the same time, once you're already in the end game of Vampire Survivors, it's honestly just kind of an AFK simulator at that point. It doesn't really do much, and that's why I've loved Boss Rush mode, just because, as you said, you have to be more strategic there. You have to be really careful with your picks and really try to dodge everything. So I'm really excited just to see what 1.0, once that launches, how they flesh out the rest of the game. But even if it doesn't necessarily add that much, I've really enjoyed my time with the Vampire Survivors. Holocure is something I haven't been able to really put my times on, just because, one, my Oshi isn't in the game yet, Matt.
Rip.
And two, I want to try to see if I can get it on the Steam Deck, just because I feel like after I've played Vampire Survivors on the Steam Deck, that's just something, that's the place where I want to experience that type of game. So anything with Holocure that you want to mention, or are you just, trying to save up, waiting for that Gamers update, I think coming at the end of August?
I don't... I like Holocure as a game.
Yes.
I don't like that it has gacha elements.
I from what I've seen of Holocure, I do like how there is kind of that gacha element, just because within the HoloLive universe, gacha, the concept of gacha is sort of a meme between a big number of talent. But yeah, just, I think for me, it's one of those things where I haven't necessarily dipped my toes either, just because it's, okay, do I want to burn out trying to save for a character that hopefully will come down the line, or do I just want to experience it all once any improvements are made, gameplay additions, and then the character I want to play is there? So I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted with Holocure, but it's definitely something I do want to check out eventually.
I think like experiencing it bit by bit is actually more beneficial for someone like me, who kind of gets burned out on games pretty quickly. And since there's only a limited amount of stuff and it's dripping out, like it's been satisfying for me. Because I feel like if I'm just going back to Vampire Survivors real quick, if I just waited for the 1.0 of Vampire Survivors, I wouldn't have enjoyed Vampire Survivors as much as I think I'm enjoying it now, because I wouldn't have done everything.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to try to look into it and see if I can get that running on the Steam Deck, just because if that can be my before bed, oh, maybe I'll try one run. I think that would be actually really fun. Something as a replacement to what I currently do before bed, which is play Session or Skater XL, do a bunch of tray flips, a bunch of backside tail slides, and then go to bed. So if I can replace that with something that will eventually get me to my favorite character if they're ever added, I think that's win-win, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for me this week, I haven't been, doing too much. I think I've been playing a bit more Multiverses. It did enter open beta on the 26th. There's a new rotation of free characters for you to try out, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
I saved up.
Mm-hmm.
I got me some LeBron James. I've just been trying to level him up to get additional perks for my character loadout. But yeah, mostly it's just me and a friend on our lunch breaks queuing up and just trying to figure out the different mechanics for the characters we chose and just seeing what's out there. Matt, even though open beta happened a few days ago, there's some monsters there sometimes. Sometimes you'll get mashed up with people who are just casually trying to have fun, and then sometimes you're just getting comboed off the level and they're just fidgeting their way back to reset that whole process all over again. But
that's how it goes, man.
I'm really enjoying it right now. They do have this was going on during the closed beta as well. There is a battle pass that goes up to the 8th of August, I believe, and it's 15 tiers. The last free tier unlock is a Finn costume from Adventure Time. So yeah, I'm still enjoying my time there. I haven't bought one of the standard or any of the starter or founders editions yet with the unlock tokens, just because I'm still getting a feel. But for the most part, I am enjoying the fact that dailies can be done in AI games. So
nice.
Before the reset, yeah, just because the way the dailies work, you have 6 dailies in total. You can re-roll, but eventually, even if you clear that mission, the mission you re-rolled will come back around. So you get 6 in total, and yeah, you can do them in versus bot games, which has been really nice. Other than that, I've been playing the Forza for Horizon 5 Hot Wheels DLC. It's more Forza. I know this was the second time they've done the Hot Wheels DLC, the first time being in Forza Horizon 3. Nothing too much to really talk about here other than I think it's always been my favorite thing about the Forza Horizon games is whether it be the main title, the base game, or a new piece of DLC. I love just the spectacle of the first race, just because it's not necessarily a traditional race. It's kind of getting you in one of the endgame cars and driving around the different environments, with the narrative being, hey, we're getting you ready for this new festival event or this new festival. Here's you driving around in the case of the Hot Wheels DLC. Here's you going super fast on this Hot Wheels track. Here's a dragon yelling at you at one point.
That's amazing.
I don't know, Matt. I love the spectacle that the Forza games really give you in this first race to really get your adrenaline pumping. But then afterwards, it's the thing I liked about this DLC before we move on is the fact that for the last few Forza Horizon games, you've kind of been put in the situation of, hey, you won Forza Horizon 1 and 2, you're the champ. Here, how do you want the festival to progress? Here's a bunch of cool cars. Which outpost do you want to open? Do you want more street races? Do you want more cross-country races? Do you want more PR events? The choice is yours. I think one of the biggest complaints about the Forza Horizon games of late is the fact that there's no real direction. It's essentially just this big sandbox for you to play in. They throw cars at you left and right. And I think with Forza Horizon, the Hot Wheels DLC, the narrative is that, hey, you're going to go really fast on these Hot Wheels tracks. We're going to start you off. You can only use B-class cars, and then once you progress, you can unlock A-class cars, and then the S1 class cars, S2, and then finally the X-class cars. So I think by putting some of a progression, it really eases you into the different mechanics the DLC has. Then again, if you played the Hot Wheels DLC from Forza Horizon 3. This is kind of old hat, but I kind of like that they're giving you this sense of solid progression again, just because it's something that's been missing from the last few Forza Horizon games. And hopefully maybe that's something we can kind of explore more in Forza Horizon 6, or at least give you the choice of, hey, do you want to be the champ or do you want to start off from the ground floor again? But
actually, so just for some context here, because I haven't played any of like the Forza like Hot Wheels DLCs before.
Yeah.
Is the Hot Wheels DLC still like open worldy? Is it just like its own area of like a map or something?
So basically for all the Forza DLC, whether it be, the ones grounded in reality like Storm Island, or in Forza Horizon 4 there was this variation of the Island of Man, but there was also the Hot Wheels DLC and the Lego DLC. For all the DLCs, they're separate islands that you go to kind of like a travel point and it will port you to a new map.
I see.
So in the case of Forza Horizon 5, the starting mission is you go to this place in the map. It's this big spectacle around a launch pad that essentially you hit a booster and you follow a track and it brings you to the Sky Island that has all these different Hot Wheels tracks that interconnect like 3 different biomes. There's like a desert one, there's an ice one, there's like a jungle one. And yeah, there's just a bunch of different Hot Wheels tracks. So yeah, with all the DLC, it is a different island. That's roughly kind of a quarter or a third of the main like Horizon location from the base game. So that's kind of how they contextualize it.
Okay. Damn. I was really hoping that it was either you get out of your car, you just play Hot Wheels with other people, or you get shrunk to Hot Wheels size.
That would be kind of crazy. But yeah, here you can use whatever car you had previously unlocked in the base game, and then you can unlock a few more cars, including some new Hot Wheels based cars as well. But yeah, that's what I've been enjoying currently this week.
True.
So Matt, we've been talking about what we've been up to lately, but I know this was something we discussed when we were doing our show planning. For us just to talk about our most anticipated games for the rest of 2022, we're at the end of July now. I think when all our friends out there are listening to this, it will be the start of August. 2022, just 4 more months, Matt. And then we're finally there at winter season 2023. Finally, Nagatoro season 2. I promise we're going to get to anime sooner or later, you guys. But Matt, let's take this time to kind of just go through what's coming out within the next 4 months and not only what we're looking forward to, but Matt, I was kind of thinking about this. We're kind of planning what we're going to talk about for the rest of the year by committing to this, in my opinion, of course.
Yeah, I guess so.
But Matt, let's start off with August. I think the first title coming out soon is something you're looking forward, which is the Spider-Man Remastered edition coming. This is actually the PS4 game being remastered for, I believe, Steam release, correct?
Yeah, PC release, in general, I think. I actually don't even know if it's on Steam or on Epic. But yeah, I've been looking forward to it.
I'm guessing you haven't played the PS4 version previously.
No, I was heavily debating buying a PS4 just for Spider-Man.
Right.
And I know at some point you said I can just borrow your PS4 for Spider-Man.
Yes.
But that involved a lot of going outside and getting your PS4 from you, which seemed like a lot of work at the time.
I think it's always amazing to me just because within our friend group, there's a lot of us. Honestly, I think we're all pretty close where it's, hey, if you want to borrow this to play this, go right ahead. And I feel like a lot of the times everyone has offered this to one another at some point, but honestly, no one's really capitalized on it, if at all. But at least the thought is there, and the thought's all that matters. But yeah, I do have, the original Spider-Man on the PS4. I played, I think, a good couple of hours of it. But I think I ended up bouncing off it just to play, I think, Persona 5 at the time.
Yeah.
So I think that was around... Yeah, I think I got the PS4 Pro kind of around the time when the Persona 5 Royal Edition was coming out. And unfortunately, ended up dropping Spider-Man. But yeah, I'm really curious to see how the PC version turns out. Specifically, if any cool mods come out of it, just because I know with that Spider-Man game, there were a lot of initial costumes that you can unlock, which was really cool. But again, I know the God of War games on the PC, I believe there are a few mods, so I'm wondering how.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of the God of War? I know some of them exist, but I'm not sure how in-depth it is. And if something like a Spider-Man, which has a lot more, I don't know, just the open world aspect and the fact that the web swing mechanic is really, really fun, if that would open it up to people just trying to mod in some really cool skins for you to swing around in.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of skin modding. But going back to like that God of War thing, really the first God of War mod that I think of is the one that replaces Kratos and his son with Hank and Bobby from King of the Hill.
Okay, that's actually pretty good, and now I'm kind of curious about it, and I might want to buy God of War for the PC just to experience that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like just really excited for Spider-Man Remastered in general because I'm generally a fan of Spider-Man, and
right.
I think the original PS4 one came out in like I feel like 2017, 2018, like one of those years.
It's been some time now.
Yeah, so like it's been a very long time since the original release, and I always just assumed, well, I'm just never gonna play this because they're never going to make it for PC, and
right,
like Sony's like usually pretty good about keeping their exclusives on their own platform, whereas like I don't know, anything Microsoft is or anything on Xbox is gonna end up on PC because Microsoft, right?
Right.
So like I don't think there's really too much to be said about this game. Like it's very much public information on what this game is and has.
But you're excited to play it for the first time, right?
Yeah, I'm excited to play it for the first time. I'm wondering if they're actually going to add... I'm not actually sure if they're doing any stuff for it on PS5. I'm assuming they are. But I'm also wondering if they're just going to be adding anything new to this game. Because I know they're also doing the Miles Morales remaster towards PC as well, I think.
Okay. I'm not sure if... I think this might be just a, one-to-one version comparable to the PS5 update that they did. But again...
Yeah, that's what I'm expecting.
I haven't really looked too much into it. But yeah, I think this is definitely something I would like to purchase down the line when it's a bit cheaper, just so I can finally finish it. And Matt, you know me, I love a good open world game. I love traversal.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, speaking about traversal, this brings us to the next release that I'm personally looking forward to. Coming out on August 16th is Rollerdome. This is a really cool take on an action extreme sports game from Roll7, who you might know as the developers of the Ollie Ollie games. This is coming out for the PlayStation platforms as well as PC. I saw this during, I think it was one of the state of plays on the Sony end during the Summer Game Fest a few months ago. And I just really love the look and the aesthetic of it. Essentially, this is maybe some sort of not necessarily post-apocalyptic, but it's this murder game show where you're a skater on rollerblades, and then you have to kind of eliminate everyone in the roller arena. So you'll have access to weapons, and the cool mechanic that I saw was you have to actually do tricks and have an actually good score to reload or to get more ammo for your weapon in order for you to actually eliminate all of the threats in the level. So I'm really curious.
Wait, is this a battle royale?
No, it's a single player game, but I believe there's going to be a multiplayer mechanic to it as well, based on some of the videos I saw. But from what I've really been mainly looking at, it was the single player campaign. I'm not sure of how many levels are included, but I just really love the concept in itself. And aesthetically, it really speaks to me. Plus, Matt, you know me, I love me a good extreme sports game. So just to see this blend of extreme sports and kind of action gunplay, I'm really excited. And it kind of just makes me want to play My Friend is Pedro. I never actually got to play that. Though I think I think that's on Game Pass too. So that's something I might check out soon. Moving on to August 23rd, there are two games that come out, and I think I'll save the one that we both are looking forward to for after. But really quickly, Midnight Fight Express is coming out on August 23rd. Matt, remember, I don't know how to tell time. But yeah, this was actually an indie game developed by one person whose name is Jacob Dwynell, I believe. And this was actually a demo that I played during the Steam Next Fest, that event where Steam released a bunch of indie demos for upcoming games. And it's an isometric game that has combat similar to the Arkham Asylum games. So that's something Matt, you know me, I like good combat. I really do like that Assassin's Creed Arkham style combat, and just to see how stylized it was in the demo. I only played the tutorial level just because I didn't really want to burn out. Once you finish the tutorial, you get access to, a skill tree to see where you want to build into. But overall, I really like the look of it. It played really well when I did the tutorial during the demo. And yeah, I'm just looking for a really good brawler lately. I know there's been a ton of good beat 'em ups to come out in the last couple of years, whether it be TMNT, Shredder's Revenge, or Streets of Rage 4. There's going to be a new River City Girls coming out. But I think, I love me a good side-scrolling beat 'em up, but I really do want to just see a brutal isometric kind of combat game like this. So this is something I'm definitely looking forward to in a few weeks. Also coming out on August 23rd, Matt.
Yes.
The next installment of Saints Row.
Yes.
Saints Row means a lot to us, not only in terms of our friendship. Actually, I think it means more to you and Julian's friendship, just because I believe you two played it co-op. But I think this is a franchise that has a special place within, our hearts and a lot of our friends' hearts. But yeah, Matt, how much are you looking forward to the new Saints Row?
Jared, I'm really looking forward to the new Saints Row. Like, it looks fun. Like,
yeah,
it looks like it's going back kind of to, what is it, Saints Row 2, 3-ish?
Yeah.
Maybe leaning a bit more 3.
Actually, I heard that from some of the hands-on impressions. That I haven't really been digging too deep into hands-on impressions, just because, again, I want to experience this for the first time. But a sentiment I've been seeing a lot more lately is that it, vibe-wise, it kind of resembles more 2-3 than 3-4. So I think as someone who really loved Saints Row 2, that's something that kind of is really speaking to me.
Yeah, no, that sounds like very, very like appealing to me. And did you touch the boss creator much or no?
Matt, I downloaded the boss creator. So this is something the Saints Row games have done for the past couple of releases, where they'll release the character creator early, sort of like a demo, and you can create your character and then export it and be able to take it in with you when the game finally launches. But yeah, Matt, I don't know. It was one of those things where I thought I would be way more into it, but I just ended up browsing all of the characters that have been created already and thought, oh yeah, I can see myself playing as this character. I can see myself playing as this character. So I haven't really dug through deep, but I have seen some really good created characters so far. Was that something you've dug into?
I tried to dig into it a little bit. Like, I tried making my own boss from scratch, and I was actually surprised at the amount of like clothes they had in the character creator.
Right.
I'm hoping actually that they don't have that many at the start of the actual game, just because I don't know if you do this, but when I played 2 and or actually any kind of like game in this sort of genre where you can sort of create a character from scratch, I always like to dress them kind of shittily at the start.
Definitely.
So you have somewhere to like go up to.
Especially for the Saints Row game, at least for 2 and 3, just because you are trying to build your empire, or you are trying to climb up from, petty street gang back to, the big shot boss you are. And yeah, I know for me, my progression is, just wear like a beater top, some jeans. And by the end of the game, that's when I have, my blazer on, the more fitted pants. But, I keep the purple Converses just to keep it real, Matt. But yeah, I definitely know where you're coming from in terms of that. But everything else, I think I'm really looking forward to. From what I've seen from the various trailers, there's a lot of silly stuff. But yeah, overall, I'm just looking for a really solid, fun experience. And the Saints Row games have always scratched that itch. But again, I'm really excited that they might be dialing it back, just because for as much as I enjoyed Saints Row 4, I feel like it was more of a superhero game than, say, a Saints game. And I kind of like...
Yeah.
I love how silly and outrageous the Saints Row games are, but I kind of still want them to be grounded in a way, and that's what I'm really looking forward to most out of Saints Row. But yeah, Matt, anything else you're kind of looking for? How are you feeling about the gang that they're introduced? Do you like the fact that it seems to be a new crew? We don't see any of the old guard, or are you kind of bummed that Johnny and Shauna and Pierce aren't coming back?
I'm kind of just generally bummed that the old crew isn't coming back. I was more so expecting that at the very least Johnny would come back, or at least be mentioned in the trailers. So I was kind of surprised that like the whole crew rework.
Yeah, just because I was thinking about the end of Saints Row 4, and when time travel is essentially a thing at that point, I was really curious to see the direction they would take. But for them to completely reboot it, having this kind of Western feel to it with a lot of desert surroundings and having a new crew, I'm really curious to see if they'll tie this back to the ending of Saints Row 4 and then we'll see the original Saints, or if this is just a complete reboot. I can give or take the characters. While I loved the original Saints Row gang, I can also kind of admit that a lot of those archetypes were mostly resembling the times that the games were released in, and for the most part I'm really curious just to see how the new crew stacks up, if they're as likable or as endearing as the old crew ended up being. But kind of at the same time, man, I just want to do some dumb stuff in an open world. That's all I want to do, really.
I think I just realized one of the things that actually always weirded me out about the new crew that just kind of clicked with me now is that I think this is the first Saints game where we, like me and you, are probably older than the characters we're playing as, technically. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because before, the crew was all just, older than us, or like very close to our age. And now they're clearly younger than us. And I don't know how I feel about this now.
Yeah, not that you mention it. Yeah, because these characters look like they're younger 20-somethings. So damn, Matt, we're playing as the younger cousins, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. And I already can't tell time, so let's see how this goes. But yeah, Matt, coming out this week as well on September. Matt, I can't tell dates. Coming out on August 25th, Soul Hackers 2, the new RPG from Atlas. Matt, I haven't played Soul Hackers 1. I literally don't know what this game's about. All I know is I really love the aesthetic. I really love the character designs. If you told me this was a new Tokyo Mirage Sessions, I would have believed you.
Oh, man.
Because 1, I love Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and 2, the characters' vibes overall just really speak to me. So I'm really curious to just jump into this because I know next to nothing about it.
Do you know what kind of game it is, or?
No, Matt, all I know is Atlas. Cool looking characters. I'm probably going to sign up. I did fill out that Atlas, player questionnaire. That was, 125 questions that took 40 minutes to complete. And at one point, the main or the central female character that they've used to promote Soul Hackers 2, there was like a custom video of her thanking you for doing the survey. And I thought, you know what?
What?
I will play Soul Hackers 2 because this character looks cool. Matt, don't know anything about it, but I don't know if this is something I'll get day one just because it comes so close to Saints Row. So, but it's definitely something that I do want to pick up, eventually this year. And so far, I've generally been a fan of the modern Atlas games, so I'm really curious to see how this compares to the modern Atlas games, just because from the little I've read up about this game, apparently it has not a lot in common mechanic-wise or even vibe-wise from Soul Hackers 1. So 1, I'm really curious why they call it Soul Hackers 2, but hey, I like video games, Matt, and I would argue it's anime adjacent, so it's perfect for the mistake zone, Matt. Moving on, we're finally at September. Another game coming out that we're both looking forward to. Coming out on September 9th, Matt, Splatoon 3. We can finally, once again, see if we're both kids or squids.
Man.
And Matt, I don't know. What about Splatoon 3 are you most looking forward to?
I'm looking forward, Jaren, to the start of Splatoon 3.
Yes.
Because I got my Switch, I think maybe 2 years into its release.
Really?
And I got it like sort of late-ish.
Huh.
And by the time I got it, Jaren, everybody who was playing Splatoon 2 was very good. and I couldn't do anything. So I got butthurt out of Splatoon 2, so I'm really looking forward to Splatoon 3 so I can play with some 10-year-olds.
Matt, I swear you had a Switch like near launch. That's so weird to me, just because, Matt, the reason I bought a Switch was because of the Splatoon 2 open network test, and I just had to play the open network test for some reason.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I love Splatoon, the Splatoon franchise. Splatoon 2 was something that I was mainly into for the multiplayer aspect, both, the competitive one and the salmon run PvE stuff. Oddly enough, I didn't really get far into the single player campaign. Even the Octo expansion, I never unlocked Octolings to play in multiplayer, just because I kind of got halfway and I was like, okay, I'm done. I think with me, my meat and potatoes when it comes to Splatoon is the multiplayer experience, whether it be salmon run, especially the PvP, just because I do love unlocking the different gear. I need to look fresh when I play Splatoon, Matt. So again, I know there is going to be a hefty single player component. I know there is this take of it having a more post-apocalyptic vibe, but at the end of the day, Matt, I'm here for whoever the two idols are in the the guiding idols, the guiding hosts. I'm into the multiplayer experiences, and I'm into fresh clothes. My only hope for Splatoon 3 is I hope there's some sort of transmog system that will let me, switch out the different passives on a piece of clothing to another piece of clothing, because Matt, gotta look fresh, but I gotta have the meta passives as well,
Of course.
But Matt, still in September
Yes.
20th, something you're looking forward to, Evil West. Matt, I don't know anything about this game. What has you hyped for it?
Jaren, do you remember the game Remnant from the Ashes?
Yes and no.
Okay. Remnant from the Ashes, and I guess also Evil West, are kind of the same genre of game. They're like a third-person shooter where you're basically fighting some kind of monster. In Remnant, it was kind of like these tree zombies, and in Evil West, it's just normal zombies. But I think they're vampires in Evil West. But it's a third-person shooter. You have skills and abilities, and a skill tree, I believe, where you can level up magics and stuff. It's that sort of kind of a combination of a shooter and magic, which I think is a combo that I really enjoy. Evil West is basically just, if anybody knows, Remnant from the Ashes is a Western version of Remnant from the Ashes, and the kind of genre of being able to go through a much, I guess, lighter sort of looter shooter compared to something like a Destiny or a Diablo, if Diablo was a shooter, is very appealing to me. And I don't know, it looks like a good co-op experience that I'm really looking forward to with some of the friends that I played Remnant with.
Okay, that's cool. Matt, correct me if I'm wrong. For some reason, when I think of Remnant, I haven't played it, but I think it's been given out for free, whether through Twitch Prime or some sort of giveaway. Is that game usually related or referenced in as a Souls-like, or is that a different game I'm thinking of?
Yeah, you're thinking the right game. It is a Souls-like third-person shooter. Yeah, it's a kind of, it's Souls-like in the sense that you have to be careful about taking your shots, but I don't think it's too heavily Souls-like in terms of I think enemy difficulty. But it does have that kind of you're waiting to take your shots instead of spraying and praying into enemies like other third-person horde shooter type things.
Okay, that sounds cool. Maybe that's something I'll check out too, depending on what platform it is. Matt, we're moving on to October.
Yes.
And I think this next title has a special place in Saturday morning arcade lore, just because this was Well, its predecessor was the last game we talked about before we went into the hiatus, before we came back. We rose like a phoenix for the Mistake Zone. But Overwatch 2's early access begins on October 4th. And Matt, it's been so long since we did that last episode of Saturday Morning Arcade, season 4, I believe.
Yep.
And I don't know. I don't think I can do it, Matt. I don't think I can go back to Overwatch. But what about Overwatch 2 is getting you excited?
I mean, I think it's just going to be the influx of people coming back to Overwatch for a bit.
Especially since it's free to play.
Yeah, especially since it's like free to play. And I don't know, Jared, I want to check out like what's changed in Overwatch. How different is 5v5 going to be from compared to 6v6? Because I don't know, I never liked it when Overwatch moved over to role queuing.
Right.
And Overwatch 2 is starting with role queue because they're doing, I think it's like 1 tank, 2 DPS, 2 healers. And I don't know, some of the changes that they've been talking about, how like, oh, all tanks are going to have like so-and-so passive attached to them, all DPS are going to have so-and-so passive to them, is kind of like interesting to me. And I just want to see how different Overwatch 2 is going to feel compared to Overwatch 1. Like, I don't think I'm going to get like too hardcore into Overwatch 2.
Okay.
This is mostly just like, yo, how's my old friend doing? You know, that sort of thing.
Right, for sure. You're just checking in. in. Mm-hmm. Have you played any Overwatch over the past few years, or is that something you've just dropped off?
No, there was a time during like I think like early pandemic when I was just messing around in Overwatch for like a month. But right. Other than that, like I realized, hey, like I'm bad at playing. Jaren, okay, I really like the concept of Sombra.
Right.
I'm very bad at playing Sombra type characters or assassin type characters in general.
Man, Matt, I love the idea of assassin characters, but I think it's the execution that I can never get down, and that makes me feel bad. Mm-hmm. Plus, it being a team game, I feel my sense of feeling bad is heightened. Mm-hmm. But Matt, I think the last time I played Overwatch was when they released that Blizzard land map.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I think Moira was just released too. Mm-hmm. And all I remember was playing that map, winning a game, using whatever coins I had left to buy like Black Cat Diva, and then I never logged in since. So
damn.
Maybe I'll jump in during the early access just to see how Overwatch 2 is, how different it is. But Matt, you know, I gotta mute my team, Matt. It's been how many years and I'm still baby, so
No, same.
While we're still in October, just kind of moving quick, I know Marvel Midnight Suns comes out October 9th, and this is something that's sort of on my radar. I'm not necessarily a fan of, the XCOM games, but this is coming from for access. And this is that Marvel game where it is turn-based, but instead of, I think people were originally poo-pooing this game just because they were thinking, oh, this is going to be Marvel XCOM. But when the battle system was revealed and how it's kind of deck-based, where you make a deck full of all these different abilities, you go into battle, it's turn-based still, but you draw from the deck, and then based on what you draw, those are the actions that you can move or you can kind of do during your turn. And I think when this was originally shown, it was stupid that, hey, if I'm playing Wolverine and I can't, use my claws when I'm right beside this guy, or if I'm Captain America and I would throw my shield in this situation, but I can't. I think that's what really got people soured on the whole thing. But I don't know about you, Matt, but I'm a really big fan of kind of deck-based combat games. Fights in tight spaces is kind of something that, scratch the same itch that I'm hoping that Midnight Fight Express scratches, where it is that isometric beat 'em up type game, but it is, again, turn-based, and depending on what cards you draw from your deck, those are the moves you can do. I'm a really big fan of that kind of battle style. I can understand how, okay, this is my Marvel superhero game. Why can't I do cool superhero stuff? But I don't know. I think that's something that really does appeal to me, that I'm really looking forward to. Plus, the Marvel Cinematic Universe being what this is, not that this ties in. I know people talk about Marvel fatigue being a thing. Matt, I still like me a good Marvel property.
Yeah.
I'm really curious just to see what characters end up being in this game. I mean, they're putting Magic in this game, the character, who I really like. That was speaking about Marvel heroes from last week. You know, I really did like playing Magic there. So yeah, I'm really excited just to see how this turns out.
Yeah,
And finally, rounding. No, sorry, go on, Matt. Are you kind of looking forward to this? Are you actually like an XCOM fan as well?
I am a fan of XCOM until I start losing.
Right.
But I was like loosely following Midnight Suns like a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like actually very curious in seeing how it's going to end up playing out, because I am a fan of both like I said earlier, like XCOM or like I guess tactical RPG type games and deck builders. Also, I think by the time this episode comes out, there should be a deck building bundle on Humble Bundle ending. It's very soon.
Oh yeah, I should look into it. I think there's this one game, something Void, that people are really recommending. That
Yes, Vault of the Void is in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might get that bundle just to check out. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wingspan's on there too. Not really like a normal deck builder, but good board game.
Okay.
But like I'm really interested in seeing like how well the card aspect and the tactical aspect are going to intertwine, because maybe it's just how the XCOM name is like attached to this, just like socially.
Yeah.
It's making me feel like it's gonna be a little, I don't know, messed up to play.
Okay.
Just because of like the randomness that comes from like a card drawing or card drafting system.
Yeah.
And the kind of like already annoying RNG of XCOM type games.
Right.
That makes me just, I don't know, slightly worried about how Midnight Suns is going to turn out.
Okay. Yeah. I'm really just curious about it. I don't want to say it's on Game Pass. I think I saw something about it being tied to Game Pass, but it's definitely something that I do want to check out eventually this year. Just as you said, I just want to see how it like just ends up playing. Plus, I like Marvel characters, but. Mm-hmm. Rounding up October, and this is kind of my final anticipated game of the year with an announced date. Bayonetta 3 finally got its release date after all these years, after being announced so many years ago. This comes out just before Halloween on October 28th. And Matt,
mm-hmm.
I love the Bayonetta franchise. I'll be a Nintendrone and be thankful for Nintendo for saving this franchise and being a publisher for it, or a co-publisher for it, and financing it to a degree, I believe. Matt, I love Bayonetta. I wish Bayonetta 3 was coming out on the PC or one of the other consoles, just because I'm hoping this is, Platinum bringing their A-team on this game. Bayonetta is one of the most, critically acclaimed action combat games out there. And just thinking of, I know the Platinum has gone to say that, they have sacrificed some of the visual stuff for the game just to make sure they're hitting, that solid frame rate, to make sure that the combat is smooth. But Matt, this franchise deserves to be on more powerful hardware. I'm sorry. I'm still going to play it day one. I bought the fancy edition that comes with the art book. I'm going to play this game. I'm hopefully going to love it, just based on the pedigree of Platinum. At least my perceived, their perceived reputation to me and the previous Bayonetta games. But Matt, if I could play this game, solid 60 or even uncapped frame rate with like gorgeous graphics, I think Bayonetta deserves this. I don't know, Matt. I'm still gonna play it, but as much as I'm anticipating this game, I wish this was on a different console. But at the same time, Matt, we're dealing with multiverses yet again. There's going to be different Bayonettas, apparently. There's a young witch or demon hunter with a katana who, if you were to tell me is this game's equivalent of Virgil from the DMC games, I would believe you. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to solid combat, just to see what's new in the world of Bayonetta. It's a character I love. It's a franchise I love. But Matt, I wish it was on something else. I'm sorry, you guys, but looking forward to it. Is that something have you been a fan of the Bayonetta games, or is that something, not necessarily your cup of tea?
No, it's never really been my flavor. Because Bayonetta's always been compared to, I think, Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
And Devil May Cry was also never really my cup of tea either in terms of gameplay. Because I don't like doing that kind of score chase type thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So I felt like I was never going to get that much out of either of those franchises.
All right. But Matt, I know something you're going to get a lot out of this November 18th, the next installment of the Pokemon games, Scarlet and Violet. I'll probably end up getting this too. But Matt, what are you looking forward to for the next installment of the Pokemon games?
Jared, I just love me some Pokemon games. I love going out. I love catching some friends, I'm actually very interested in what stuff they're going to keep from, I guess the mainline Pokemon games, and what stuff they're going to bring in from Legends.
Do you think there's been enough time for them to lift from Legends? Just because I would think that these two were kind of being developed, not together, but separately, but still in parallel. Do you think there are any opportunities for it to lift from Legends? Or do you think we'll see, any actual meaningful, I guess, mechanics jumping between the both titles in Arceus 2 or Legends 2 and then the next Pokemon after this?
I think that the two things that I would want the most coming over from Arceus is the way that Pokemon battles work in terms of I don't think they're going to bring back that strong and agile or strong and quick. I can't remember what the terms for them were, but I don't think they're going to bring those in because usually every Pokemon game has its own battle gimmick.
Right.
But I kind of hope those are coming in, but I also hope that they're going to stick with at the very least, not transitioning into a battle screen. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
I hope you can still encounter them in the overworld. Your Pokemon goes out, even if you can't do the same kind of catching that you do in Arceus, which I kind of hope they put in because I really like that format, but I doubt that they're going to. I at least hope that they're going to do the fights on the world without a transition screen.
Right.
And the second thing that I really hope that they keep from Legends is that they bring back the kind of way they do their Pokemon move sets.
Okay.
Which is that, because normally in the mainline games, it would be, okay, your Pokemon is getting a new move. Here's your list of current form moves. Do you want to forget one of them and replace it with that move? Whereas in Legends, you're going to be oh, your Pokemon has a new move. If you want to use that move, equip it from their move list. And you can only you have a list of all their moves and then a list of the 4 that you're using, and you can switch them as you need them, which I think is a much better system.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I actually like that. I think that's a really good quality in life improvement for the Pokemon games in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really curious just to see how much Scarlet and Violet does differently. I don't know about you, Matt, but during the hiatus, I played Sword or Shield, one of those, and then I played the updated Pearl or whatever. And Matt, I don't know. Unfortunately, I think Pokemon doesn't do it for me in 2022. Yeah. But I do have Legends in the back burner. I think something like Legends appeals to me more just because it's so different. It's such a change to the formula. But again, it's something that I'm really curious just to see what a second Legends is in terms of what they learned from the first one and what they can kind of lift mechanics wise from Scarlet and Violet. And yeah, I'm just really curious what the future for Pokemon holds. But in terms of, the title coming out this year, I'll probably end up playing it for sure, but I don't know if I'll finish it.
Actually, also one more thing just for Pokemon, because I just remembered it now. I really hope that for Scarlet and Violet, they've been saying, oh, this is gonna be the first truly open world Pokemon, and I'm really interested in seeing how they're going to do that.
Yeah.
One of the things that always, I guess, threw people off is why are all these gym trainers so weak?
Yeah.
And I feel it never really gets addressed outside of the first Pokemon anime or manga, in that the difficulty of the gym is based on how many badges you have.
Narratively, that doesn't actually make sense to me now that you say it out. Okay, I guess in terms of Pokemon progression, you can only challenge Misty once you have Brock's badge, I guess.
But... but whereas oh no, in universe it'd be oh, you have no badges. Okay, I'm gonna use my 0 badge tier team against you.
Right.
And I'm kind of really interested in, and I hope that that's kind of the thing that they decide to do inside of Scarlet and Violet, because I'm interested in seeing what people's, I guess, gameplay experience is going to be. Just to be like, oh yeah, like I started with like, I don't know, like the water gym, and like, oh, the tier 1 water gym is like a lot easier than, for example, the tier 1 like grass gym.
Yeah, just because they announced that you can tackle the gym leaders in any order, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm really interested in seeing like how they're going to, because I hope it's not just like, oh, these are the suggested order you're supposed to do the gym, and they all have kind of a static difficulty. Versus, like, I really hope that they all have a dynamic-ish difficulty like between them.
Matt, I just want a Pokemon game where I'm slaughtered the first gym, and they're like, "Well, you gotta keep grinding Route 101 until you're ready to face me." But Matt, give me Pokemon Souls. I want. Oh wait, do you think Pokemon Souls is just like what's that modifier people play? The Nuzlocke run is that Pokemon Souls?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, Matt. Well, we'll see about this come November, because I'll probably end up playing it too.
Yeah.
Matt, 2 more games on this list, one with a date. I'm not confident in this next date, Matt, but Hogwarts Legacy is currently listed for December 22nd.
Yes, I am also not confident about that date.
So, Matt, what are you looking forward to most about Hogwarts Legacy? And I guess you just said, do you think it's going to hit that December 2022?
If I had to be totally honest with you, Jaren, I do not think that it's going to hit the December 2022 date.
Yeah.
I'm expecting like summer 23.
Okay.
But I don't know, I'm just generally looking forward to it. Like growing up, I think generationally for us, like the Harry Potter franchise was very, I guess, big in our
our youth.
Yeah, our youth all the way to, I think, like early adulthood.
Yeah, for sure.
When like the last few movies came out. And I don't know, the universe has always been interesting-ish to me in terms of like, I don't know, imagination. Because that's, whenever I think of any kind of fantasy magic, that's usually the first series that'll pop up in my head.
Yeah, for sure.
And kind of just seeing how big this game is trying to be, and the fact that it is specifically single player,
right,
is very interesting to me, because like I feel like if it was a multiplayer kind of RPG where you're expected to interact with others, I wouldn't expect as much out of it, because then you're kind of like, oh, it's kind of just a community building thing. Like, oh, you and your friends are just gonna like mess around in Hogwarts and like cast spells at each other and that sort of thing. As much as I would like a co-op Harry Potter game, I'm kind of glad this one isn't, just because I'm expecting a far more refined, I don't know, experience out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm also kind of partially I know we were ragging on gacha earlier, but I'm really interested in seeing if Hogwarts is going to introduce gacha elements.
Really?
In terms of in terms of like the main stuff, you know, like oh, are you going to be like, what house are you going to be?
Right, true.
Or like what's your Patronus shape going to be, or like I don't know, like your gear, I guess. I know like your wand is supposed to be a personality test type thing.
Yeah.
I can't really think of anything else, but like, you know, just I want to see what kind of gacha elements in terms of like those things are gonna show up, and how different actually each house is gonna be, because you're saying like you're only gonna be able to interact with like certain characters if you're part of certain houses.
Okay.
So I'm interested in seeing how different that's going to be.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily looking forward to this game too much, but from the way you were describing to me, there are a lot of things that I am curious about. And I do understand where you're coming from in terms of this being developed as a single player experience, where I would hope it's more refined, just because I could totally see where if they were going to make this not necessarily an MMO per se, but something that was multiplayer instance based or something like that, where, you know, you had different students running around doing their own thing, how much of a different game that would be. So I would hope that this was a more solid experience that would allow you for multiple playthroughs just to see what house, you know, you're part of. And then, yeah, again, the more personal elements and how that ends up.
Oh, there was one more thing, Jaren, actually about this game that actually made me kind of want to like vomit.
Okay.
Jaren, have you heard about the collector's edition of Hogwarts Legacy?
I have not.
Apparently, And like I want to know how you feel about this. The collector's edition of Hogwarts Legacy lets you play the game 72 hours in advance.
Oh, don't a lot of collector's editions do that? Well, I feel like this has been a trend.
That feels really weird to me.
This has been a trend with a lot of the super, I don't know, expensive versions of the game that let you play like a few weekends early. I know with Forza Horizon, whether it be 5 or I know 4 did it, because if you got the Ultimate Edition, which was like the 120 Canadian version, you could play it 4 days earlier. And yeah, I think that has become a recent trend, especially as we see more of these digital deluxe versions, these more premium editions. It's one more thing that can add to the incentive of spending what 30, 40, 50 more dollars on this edition. Just the notion of, hey, I can play this game before all the normies, before all I hate to say it, Matt, I can play this game before all the pores. So
I thought you were gonna say before all the muggles, but
that too. I don't know Harry Potter that much, but yeah, I feel like this has been a recent trend, and yeah, I'm not a fan of it, to be honest.
Yeah, like I understand it sort of. Actually, it's probably worse actually in an MMO, because then you're just like fucking paying for being early in an MMO is very important. Whereas in a single player experience, I don't know, that makes me feel kind of like more grimy about it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's never really set well with me, just because, again, you are charging for early access. The game is done, but you're giving it to a select few of people who, are willing to pay more. And if they're willing to pay more, that's, that's business, I guess. You're meeting a demand. But yeah, not a fan, but it is a trend that I've seen actually become like more commonplace the last few years. I guess the thing with me is I'm not doing Saturday morning arcade, on the regular, and kind of just taking my time, plus also just being a slave to my free to play game chores. Like I've never been so inclined to buy a game, buy a game at launch, let alone pre-order it. So I'm not sure how often the buy for early access has been a thing, or if that's still an ongoing trend. But I remember that being such a thing, like even just a few years ago, and yeah, it's still grimy to me. And yeah, that's unfortunate to hear that it's still going on. But hey, if people are buying it, I guess that's how it works.
Yeah.
And then Matt, the final game on the anticipated for 2022 list doesn't have a release date. I'm hoping it comes out this year. The game is Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. This is from Team Reptile. This is the spiritual successor. People are saying the spiritual successor to the Jet Set Radio franchise. From the few gameplay video or trailers that I've seen, it looks really cool. The music's on point. It has that Jet Set vibe down. I do like how it is addressing different, modes of transportation. I've seen BMX bikes. I've seen skateboards. I saw a thing that they took out, because parkour was an element, but apparently they took out being able to grind with your shoes. But I can't. That was something I saw on the Reddit like a few months ago.
That's basically just grinding with skates on.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm hoping it comes out this year. But yeah, that's something that I told Julian when the first Bomb Rush Cyberfunk trailer came out, just because it encapsulated that Jet Set Radio vibe that I've been missing so much. I know
that first trailer come out. I feel like it was so long ago.
I think that was like February or something like that. But yeah, I remember telling Julian. Yeah, this year.
What?
I told Julian, hey, I'm going to buy this on the Switch so I can play it handheld. I'm going to buy it on Steam so I can get, the more, the gorgeous looking edition. But Matt, now I have the Steam Deck. I just need one version. So, but yeah, that's something I'm really looking forward to, hoping it comes out this year. But I don't know. We have some firm dates, hoping nothing really gets pushed back. But yeah, I think I'm really excited for the rest of the year, and actually excited to talk about the games we mentioned in depth when they do finally come out. But yeah, anything about this list, Matt, that you want to share before we move on?
Man, it's just weird to see Bomb Rush Cyberfunk on here, because for some reason in my head I feel like I've been seeing this game is supposed to come out this year for the past, like, I don't know, like 3 years or something.
I feel that. Because it was teased a while ago.
Yeah, like, I'm surprised it's only, like, you're saying that, like, the first trailer was February. Or when was the first, I guess, like, mention of it? Was that a long time ago?
That I'm not sure. I know there was some teasers when this was initially announced way back, but again, Matt, this I think Jet Set Radio Future is legit top 5, one of my favorite games of all time. And I know I've been trying to scratch that itch. I know longtime friends of Saturday Morning Arcade might remember me backing this Kickstarter game called Hover: Revolt of the Gamer, just because.
Yes, okay, that was a game I was trying to remember.
It showed promise of it being, at the time, the spiritual successor to the Jet Set Radio games, and that came out, and unfortunately, I can't tell if I actually enjoyed my time with it or I was trying to justify how much I kickstarted it. But it didn't have the same magic as the Jet Set Radio games.
I tried playing that game in VR and I got sick.
But yeah, as I said numerous times this episode, Matt, I love traversal. I love the aesthetic. So hopefully it all comes together in Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, hopefully this year. But Matt, solid list, I should say, that we're looking forward to this year. Can't wait to really talk about it. And again, we're going to be talking about it really soon. We'll see if I get my hands on Rollerdome and then Midnight Fight Express in a few weeks. And of course, Saints Row coming up. But yeah, I'm really excited for the rest of the year, Matt.
Same.
To close this segment off, any final thoughts on this list?
No, I mean, I'm just generally looking forward to everything on this list. And I hope that none of these games are bad.
Me too, Matt. Me too. We've been talking about our most anticipated games, but I feel like we should also kind of mention this. News broke out this week about the next Grand Theft Auto 6. This was been reported by Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg. You can check out his piece titled Rockstar Games Cleaned Up Its Frat Boy Culture and Grand Theft Auto 2. There's also another breakdown on the Bloomberg website that kind of breaks down what's currently known about Grand Theft Auto 6 based on the reporting, people familiar with the matter, and industry analysis. But just to kind of go through it real quickly, just because I feel like this is pretty fresh to me, Matt, so I feel like we should just discuss really quickly on the mistake zone. Real quick, there will be a female protagonist. The woman is Latina and will be one of a pair of leading characters in a story influenced by the bank robbers Bonnie and Clyde. Game release is likely 2 years away. Rockstar wanted to include large portions of North and South America, but had to reel it in. The map is a fictionalized, I don't even know if that's a word, but it's a play on Miami, but will update over time. Rockstar plans to continually update the game over time, adding new missions and cities on a regular basis. And yeah, Matt, I know we've been at it a long time, but I think the one thing that really stood out to me about, this information to come out was that the fact we're going to get multiple protagonists this time. For the first time, at least in the modern GTA games, one of the characters will be a female protagonist. And Matt, how do you like the Bonnie and Clyde inspiration, and what do you think that means for the narrative of the game?
I'm kind of interested in that. Like, the thing is that, like, GTA 5 had like the three main characters already, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember. They didn't really have any functional difference between them, did they? Like, I don't recall them having.
No, it's been Matt. I know this is going to be weird, but GTA 5 came out on September 17th, 2013. Almost 9 years ago. I know it's come out. There's been so many different versions. It was free on the Epic Games Store at one point. But yeah, from what I remember, Franklin, Trevor, and Michael, had their own narrative branches, but they played mostly the same. And then in this, I think when you have two characters, I believe that functionally they'll still play the same, but in terms of like a narrative approach, I know they're trying to draw inspiration from Bonnie and Clyde, and I'm really curious to see how much of a romantic, twist is put on the narrative, just because, for the last few GTA games, at least for the protagonists, to me at least, these were just people trying to, be on the come up to get from a better a better place from where these started. A lot of the times it is, climbing the ranks. I would say it's more, the GTA games have such a more narrative feel to something compared to a Saints Row, where the reason I go to the Saints Row game is for, that wacky environment, for that big playground. For the most part, I love the GTA games just because it's a really strong narrative. And to me, saying that it is heavily inspired by Bonnie and Clyde really makes me curious just to see what kind of story they're trying to tell, just because from the most part, I feel like with the modern GTA games, you see the heavy inspiration from from Scarface, of course, from The Godfather, from Boys in the Hood. So, and from that point, I think with that, it is kind of trying to maintain this position of power. But when you're telling me that, we have a male and female protagonist, our potential love interest, what that does, like, I'm really excited to see what type of story they're telling, just because I don't think this has been a real avenue they've explored in the modern GTA games.
Have they said it's a male and female protagonist pair?
They just confirmed that there will be a female protagonist, but the quote was, "The woman is Latina and will be one pair of the leading characters in a story influenced by bank robbers Bonnie and Clyde." So, there were a few leaks that I don't really want to mention, but this was being reported from Bloomberg. This was the concrete information. But it's looking to be 2 protagonists this time around instead of 3. And how do you feel about the notion that they're going to be adding new missions and cities on a regular basis? Do you think this is trying to merge the solo GTA experience with the GTA Online and games as a service sensibilities? Does something like that excite you, or when you hear something like that, what are your initial impressions?
It's kind of interesting to me. Like on one hand, I understand why they would want to keep like bringing in the content, but for some reason in like the back of my mind, it's making me think the initial game is not going to be very big.
Right.
I don't know if you're having like also that sort of thought, like they're going to just make, I don't know, a very small initial city, and really like what they originally wanted for the game is going to be the extra cities that they add in terms of, I guess, map size.
I think I'm actually kind of skeptical at something like this. I know we've been running along, Matt, but I guess my final thought is I'm actually kind of skeptical about something like this, and I'm hoping that they're actually trying to do this, for the benefit, just because part of Jason's reporting was informing the reader about, the changes internally at Rockstar Games and what that means, for the team to kind of boost morale and make sure it's a positive work environment. So I'm really hoping that, one, the notion of adding new missions and cities on a regular basis is, just to avoid crunch, to make it a more streamlined production process. But the reason why I say I'm skeptical is because since GTA 5 came out almost a decade ago, there's been no single player expansions, no single player content. We've seen constant additions to the GTA Online experience, and that's where we've seen new characters, new cinematics. Heck, just recently there was an additional story involving, Franklin, the GTA 5 protagonist, and Dr. Dre. So that's where we're kind of getting more of a single, you would assume this would be a single player experience, but that was, just pushed into the GTA Online shell. And while it would normally make me happy that the expectation is to add new missions and cities on a regular basis, just the fact that GTA Online has made them so much money, I'm a bit skeptical. Will they actually follow through with this, or is adding new missions and cities on a regular basis just going to be whatever the new GTA online equivalent is? And will our single player experience just be kind of what we normally get from the GTA games, or even on the worst case scenario, smaller than what you kind of previously expected? So I'm really excited to see where they go with GTA 6. I'm really excited about the character direction, but at the same time, as a single player GTA fan, GTA 5 for the past year and the single player support that it's received, I still have a bit of skepticism within me.
Like the Bonnie and Clydeness of it is also actually very interesting to me in terms of missions.
Yeah.
The first thing I really wonder towards that whole aspect is if they're going to incorporate kind of like you do this mission half as this person, half as the other person, or kind of an overlapping mission thing, kind of like remember how Time Splitters used to do their mission. Or if it's possibly you have a switch character button, which I think would be an interesting add to GTA.
It could also be like Assassin's Creed Syndicate, where you just pick a character away and then you just switch at your hideout. But yeah, when you say you're inspired by Bonnie and Clyde, the expectation to me at least is they're both going to be on these missions. And I'm really curious just to see what the mission structure is as well.
Yeah.
But Matt, this has been a beefy episode. We've talked a lot.
Yes.
For Mistake Zone fans out there, next week the anime comes back. Matt, a new anime is coming out soon, isn't that right?
Yes, Kakegurui Twin, Jaren. That's gonna be it's gonna be a good is this a good anime discussion next week.
Anime will return to the Mistake Zone next week, friends. But for now, I want to thank you for joining us yet again to kind of explore what we're looking forward to for the rest of the year and our initial thoughts on GTA 6. But as always, we want to thank you for joining us. Check us out. Well, you're already checking us out, but I don't have a clear outro. So Matt, thank you again for joining me this week, and take it away.
This has been the Mistake Zone, and we're all out of good games for 2022.